It's a Wednesday edition of Business Live. Good evening and thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abwaji Rafi. Coming up in this edition, Ghana National Poultry Farmers Association criticizes government for not having the political will to address issues concerning post-harvest losses in the agricultural sector. Government issues 5-year bond to raise 1 billion cedis from investors. And the Bank of Ghana initiates steps towards finding lasting solution to long-standing challenge with funding by players in the agric sector. These are the headlines we're working with this evening. You can always get interactive with us by tweeting at Joy Business GH. On Facebook, our page is Joy Business. You can get more business news updates by logging on to myjoyonline.com/business. We'll be back with the details. We sincerely apologize for the little hold up there. It was due to a technical hitch. Now to the very first story. Government is trying to raise up to 1 billion Ghana cedis from investors. This will be done through the issuing of a 5-year bond. But at what cost, and could this increase the country's rising public debts? George Rafi has the rest of the story.
The fundraising, which will not be done the usual way, that is it being managed by the Bank of Ghana. This is because government is now looking at a new and more efficient way of raising these funds, which has been christened the book building approach. 3 financial institutions, that is Barclays, Stanbic and Finance House Strategic African Securities, will be managing this exercise. These institutions will today open the book to accept bids and price codes from institutional investors and fund managers who are interested in lending to government at a specific interest rate. The exercise, unlike previous ones, will last for 2 days. Government has already given itself a range which is willing to accept these funds or borrow from investors, that is between 23 to 25%. Proceeds from the bond sale will be used to finance debts that are maturing. However, the concern here for many industry watchers is about how this would go a long way to increase the public debt, which has reached 105 billion Ghana cedis as at May this year. But the Finance Ministry, on the other hand, have argued that these bonds would rather go a long way to reduce the public debt. But economist John Kwachi disagrees.
If you borrow 100, you go up 100, and then you pay 100, you come back to the same level. If that's what they were just doing. But not all the borrowings go to pay off existing debt. Some of them are also used for various projects and so on. So it's additional debt. Of course, part of it goes to refinance existing debt, but it also creates additional debt.
Government is planning to raise about 60 billion Ghana cedis through the issuance of bonds and treasury bills for this year. It has already been able to raise about half of this.
Now, a new Bank of Ghana fund that is expected to address the shortfall in financial support for the agricultural sector will take off from October this year. The fund will see the central bank and commercial banks contribute to it and also provide technical assistance to the farmers. Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Johnson Osiama, spoke to Joy Business at the sidelines of the just-ended Joy Business Busy Talks, which focused on addressing challenges facing the sector.
Currently, financing that goes to agriculture is just about 4% of the entire financing, and so we want to see how to double this within the next couple of years to about 8% of financing. As I indicated, we are interested in the very innovative schemes. So we've looked at this scheme called GESAL. In Nigeria, they call it NESAL. What it does is, it is a sort of guarantee scheme to which the central bank and the banks contribute, so that that fund is used to support lending to agriculture. Now, that means you don't only give money to the farmers, But then the banks now commit their staff to provide technical support right from inception of the project to marketing. So the entire value chain is covered in that respect. And so this is one intervention we are looking at. A team is going to Nigeria to learn how that scheme has worked. And as I indicated, the scheme in Nigeria has helped to sort of increase rice production significantly in Nigeria. We should be able to replicate that. Kenya has also done the same thing successfully, and so again the team will go there to go and look at how it's working. That's what we are looking at now. And so we are looking at the next couple of months. When we are ready, when the concept, everything is ready, there will be some media publicity. We'll introduce everything to you. The text and all that you need to know will be made public.
Moving on, some stakeholders in the financial sector say the Depositors Protection Bill recently passed by Parliament cannot serve its purpose if the right monitoring systems are not enforced. Parliament passed the bill early this month to protect depositors from unforeseen circumstances that may result in the loss of funds. According to CEO of NDK Finance, Oko Nikwe Jani, the Depositors Protection Bill does not replace monitoring and proper licensing of financial institutions.
The Deposit Protection Bill does not replace regulation, does not replace supervision, does not replace monitoring, does not replace corporate governance. These are necessary for existing and all institutions in the industry. In other words, if we still see institutions without license, without regulation, operating microfinance institutions, I think, and create the impression that the bill is there to protect the depositors, it is erroneous. It's totally wrong. If you operate a corporate institution, you operate a microfinance institution, or you operate a deposit-taking institution, savings and loan, whatever, and you do not have corporate governance in place properly to do the right things, and open your books for inspection, for auditing, and to take the right decisions to give loans and monitor the loans, etc. You are not going to benefit from the Deposit Protection Bill. There is a need for us to be sure that what they are doing, or what they have studied, is relevant to our needs and the needs of the economy. It's not only about NDK, it's about employment. And today we are talking about so many unemployed graduates, and they even have an association. Some of them are not employable. We don't have the people.
Still staying within the financial sector, the Central Bank of Ghana has directed banks that are heavily affected by the increasing non-performance or non-payment of loans to top up their capital. This, according to the regulator, will prevent affected banks from undue pressure from environmental shocks. According to data published by the regulator, non-performing loans in the books of some banks have seen significant increase, a condition they attribute to huge debts owed by oil importing companies. Even though there has been steps by government to convert these debts into bonds, the governor of the central bank, Dr. Isahaku Nasiru, prefers banks to be proactive by recapitalizing.
The bank had initiated an asset quality review exercise, essentially looking at the loan books, the loan portfolio of all the banks. We have been supervising the banks under a certain assessment framework against our prudential norms. But this exercise was stricter than normal. What that required was to look at, reclassify all their accounts, all their assets, and in that process, some of them were reclassified to higher levels of impairment. Because you had some loans sitting on the books of banks, largely state-owned loans. But because government is seen as, it doesn't default, so they were not being provided for, under the old classification system. But with this new stricter classification, for example, guarantees of government were downgraded. In other words, they were elevated to a higher level of impairment, and banks are required to provide for those. So that is really why the NPLs levels have gone up. That explains why it's gone up. But there is some restructuring process ongoing right now where government is committed to paying down the debt. And when that happens, that will strengthen the balance sheet of the banks.
Meanwhile, banking analyst who is also executive director of the Osei-Tutu, the Second Executive Center for Education and Research, Nana Otuo Champong, has welcomed the decision by the Bank of Ghana to restructure the industry by raising foreign bonds. Speaking on the marketplace on Joy News earlier, he said he prefers to go for higher interest rates in order to stay in business and save itself from collapse.
If a bank finds itself in a situation where their capital is being eroded, then they have to find ways and means. Well, I mean, not from the perspective of the banks, because they don't have control over where interest rates are set. But on the issue of whether this is the right time because the cost is going to be high, you balance that against the alternative of not issuing the bonds or not raising capital to boost your the buffer that you have. The alternative is it could cause the collapse of the institution. So it's cheaper to go for a higher interest rate and stay in business than to do the opposite, not to issue and then go out of business. So it's on the cost-benefit basis, it's cheaper to raise the bonds now to pay for to fill the gap in your capital structure.
Banking analyst Nana Otuo Champong. Let's now update ourselves with some developments in the world of business from elsewhere in the world. Thank you very much for staying and welcome back. Now, what would you do if you were given a number of goats as inheritance? Well, the young entrepreneur Gideon Paddy Konote found himself in that situation and decided to take up the challenge of not only rearing these goats to sell but adding some value to them. He's now the CEO of Goat Masters. Exactly how does he add value? The Joy Business Van today heads to Kotobabi in Accra to get the full story.
Rearing, butchering and processing goats in various consumables. These are the Goat Masters.
So this is where my grandparents started it.
Gideon leads me to an inheritance from his grandparents. The goats were virtually pushed on Gideon since nobody wanted them after his grandparents died. Then an idea came to mind, to move from just rearing the goats to adding value to them.
After the goat have been butchered, we bring it here to process some into kebab and then also some into packaged meat, like in 1 pound, in pounds and then in kilos for our customers who order for the day.
It was not an easy beginning for Gideon, who was then a graphic designer, to take up this new challenge. As he recalls, he was sometimes laughed at.
People meet you, they're like, oh, this guy is smelling, but I know what I'm looking for.
But the most challenging time for him was when he lost the most of his goats to disease.
When I took over from my grandfather, I was eager to change the face of this business within a twinkle of an eye. So I brought in people who took shares. And then last year I had a very big challenge. I brought some goats from Burkina. And then all of a sudden disease attacked my goats, and then a lot of goats died. And then there were people like shareholders, they are goats in mine stock, and then they also died. So now I have to pay back their money. I have to pay back the money I owe them. I thought I shouldn't have done this.
What keeps Gideon is his determination to see himself succeed at what he does.
The keys to survive is one, God. I think if you have God on your side, you can move mountains. And then with God, when you have faith, you can move mountains. And then 2, hard work. If you are very hardworking, you push walls, you push every barrier, and then focus. If you are focused in what you are doing, you love what you are doing, you give all yourself to what you are doing, at the end of the day, you will smile. And then I have this plug that my uncle left for me, which I always hold in heart. It's a determination today leads to success tomorrow. So if you are determined to make it in life, no matter what comes your way, you will make it.
Growth Masters is gaining ground, making deliveries across the city. Gideon employs a lot of social media. His vision is big.
For the future, we have a very bright future. Our vision is we are building the largest livestock market in Africa. That's our vision. So that is what Growth Masters want to do. We want to build the largest livestock market in Africa. Though we don't have enough today, but that's where we are heading towards.
And he could well be on his way to achieving that. Remember to join us next week for another edition of this show. Remember, it is empowered by Joy Business and brought to you by Busy, making good things happen.
Interesting developments of the van today. Now you can watch the van every Wednesday evening on Business Live. Remember, you can also watch a repeat of this show on Marketplace on Joy News Channel 1 to 1 p.m. tomorrow. The Joy Business van is empowered by Joy Business and brought to you by Busy, making good things happen.
The Joy Business Van was brought to you by Busy, making good things happen.
It's now time for some tidbits on how to flip the screen of your computer. That's on Busy Bits.
Wondering how to flip the screen of your computer? It's simple. All you have to do is press Ctrl, Alt, and the up arrow key to flip upward. Next, press Ctrl, Alt, and the right arrow key to flip to the right. Then press Ctrl, Alt, and the left arrow key to flip to the left. But before you get too dizzy, press Ctrl, Alt, and the down arrow key. Pretty neat, huh? At least now you know how to flip your screen back if anyone messes with it.
We produce with the intention that yes, we can sell. So if you produce and you cannot sell, who again would you attract into the same industry? Come into the poultry industry. We have about 95% of the chicken that we consume coming outside the country. So who are we going to attract to the poultry industry again? We're only producing about 5%. Like I said, we have discussed this over and over again, but we are still experiencing the same situation every day and every time.
What do you want government to do?
I want government to really exercise the political will to do that. Like I said earlier, the poultry situation with regards to meat, Nigeria has done it, and today they are smiling. Cote d'Ivoire has done it, today they are smiling. Why can't we? It took political will of these two countries to really get to where they are today. So we need the political will of this country. The leaders must really express their willingness to get things done for us in the country.
Thank you.
Time to wrap up. I hope you enjoyed every aspect of the show, especially the Joy Business Van. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Emmanuel Apwaji. Join me again tomorrow for another interesting edition. Good evening.